everyone, and welcome to another episode of 9-Minute Big Life Mindset. It's not often wedding guests turn up with forged invitations, or the father's groom tells everyone a family curse means the wedding will end in unfaithfulness, but that's exactly what happened at our wedding. First off, a shout out to Debs for giving me the green light to share this particular experience. Okay, so for some context to those that don't know me or us well, Debbie comes from a New Zealand European or Pākehā background. She's an only child and her family is quite a small one, unlike my family. Now, both of my parents are Cook Island, with my mum from Rarotonga and my dad from one of the outer islands called Inwamanu. Mum only has one sibling, but my old man has about 8 of them. Pacific Islanders, or PIs, have many, many distinctive traits. Big meals, big hips, and big families are a few of them. But more than that is our view of what a family is, or who is in it. For us, our sense of family extends far beyond the immediate sense. At any gathering, if another Cook Islander is present, the elder generation can wow you with a trip down genealogy lane. If there's the merest hint of a familial relationship, that person is going to be your auntie or uncle. My favourite, though, is the title of cousin. For me, my cousins are anyone not quite of an age to be called auntie or uncle, but if there's that family connection somewhere, then that person is my cousin, or cousin. Here, I'll give you an example. Hey Dad, who's that guy over there? Oh, him. That's the stepfather of your auntie's half-brother on the mother's side. Not the real mother, but the teething mother. You met him when you were 3 years old, remember? That's your cousin. I laugh, but the gist is, PIs have a view of families that is much broader than a traditional European sense. When Debs and I envisioned our wedding, we went round in circles trying to pin a number of suitable guests down, starting at 50 and finally ending up at around 140, I think. That's 110 for my family and a few others, and 30 for Debs. We get the invites printed off, and then it's time to break the bad news to my dad. He's got a limited number of family, aunties, uncles, cousins that he can invite. I'm not worried about who he invites, as I've already got the key ones sorted, but I can tell he's not happy. Quite simply, this isn't how you do it back in the islands, and to be fair, he's right. But we weren't in the islands, and we had visions of what we wanted our wedding to be. We have a few heated conversations. He takes the invites, and then I hear later on from my siblings that he's gone on and photocopied the invites. That's right, he's photocopied the invites and is out there running loose, dishing them out. So we have no real idea how many people are going to be coming to our wedding. The big day arrives, and it's filled with all the little things that make a wedding complete. People turning up late, nervous groom, stunning bride, that kind of thing. It's a big church, so hard to know the numbers, but I'm more focused on Debbie and the ceremony anyway. We get to the reception and have the most mind-blowing experience for our arrival. My dad has organised a traditional welcoming where the Cook Island elders form a guard of honour and a lead speaker performs a turo. Now, a turo is basically a chant that's interwoven with singing by the guard of honour and everyone else in attendance. It's simply beautiful and fills me with immense pride for my family and my heritage. As we begin to take our seats, the impact of the invite situation hits. I'm looking around and there's people standing because there's not enough chairs for everyone. Uh-oh. We'd organised seating for 300 people. 300 people and there's still not enough seats. Oh man. I could have blown up, but to be honest, I'd already accepted something like this could happen. Debbie doesn't look like she's too worried, or at least she's just internalising it well. So there's no need for me to make a big deal about it. So I don't say a thing, and we move on. But then comes the clanger. The one that brings so much joy and laughter to me and all my friends now. But at the time, it was like watching a car crash and being in it at the same time. After the meal come the speeches from the bride, the groom, and anyone else, including the parents of the newlyweds. My dad's called up, and I can feel it in my bones that this is going to leave a scar somehow. My dad's old school, and also a very confident public speaker, especially considering he learned English as a second language, and he left school when he was like 12 or something so that he could look after his family. He does a brief introduction in Cook Island Māori, takes a deep breath with a look of frustration on his face, and then proceeds to open up this can of whoop ass in English. His first words are, "I'd like to apologise to my family for this wedding. This isn't the way we do things." Oh no. I can feel my heart sink and my hands go clammy with sweat. But I swear, I've got this smile wrapped on my face that looks like I've won lotto and everyone gets a share. He continues in English, and with each word, each syllable, I can feel tension building in my body, and it looks like Debs is starting to have the same response. And then he goes for the jugular. He proceeds to tell the bride, and everyone else in attendance, about a curse. But this is not just any curse. It's the curse of how him and his male siblings have all cheated on their wives. Oh man. Are you for real? Like, serious? You waited until now to tell a story like that? How none of the males in my family are faithful to the person that's meant to be their one and only love? Oh, come on. I look over at the table with a bunch of my mates that are on it, and they're cracking up. Especially my Polynesian mates, who know and expect this kind of thing from Polynesian parents. A tiny part of me is looking at them in a pleading manner for them to step in and help, but in all honesty, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be wetting myself as well. I look over at Debbie, and she's on the verge of exploding. Like, pick up a plate and throwing it at my dad kind of explosion. She's masking it well, but I've known this lady enough to tell that she's internally going from peace-loving citizen to volcanic rage. She turns and looks me dead in the eyes without breaking her stunningly beautiful, picturesque newlywed face and whispers, "Get him off the stage. Now." Mild panic begins to set in. Quick, think. What do I do? What do I do? This isn't a request. This isn't a negotiable. This isn't even something I can try to stall for time. I look over at the best man who's watching the show and say to him, "Bro, you need to do something. Get him off the stage." "How?" he replies. "I don't care. Just do it." Geez, what a help I was, eh? Talk about delegation. Not really sure how he was going to do it, but I needed a solution, and fast. Now, remember when I said my dad was old school? I meant it. If you were bold enough to go up and take the mic off him, come prepared, because he's not just going to hand it over. This guy's battled for workers' rights for decades, and our best man's not the confrontational type, so he does what he can and begins clapping, as if he's going to clap him off the stage. A couple of others follow suit, but it's not enough, not by a long shot. And then the silence from the crowd resumes, as they're either too scared, too confused, or simply too entertained to join in. We sit back and he continues his speech, but honestly, I can't recall much else. I do remember, however, looking beside me to Debbie and being impressed by her composure that she didn't kick him off the stage or simply burst into tears. She was pissed, like really pissed, and it would be many moons before we could look on this and laugh, or indeed be able to share it in a podcast. There's a few life lessons in this situation if you know where to look. If you want to avoid this kind of situation like the plague, whether it's a wedding or meeting at work, you actually have every right to ask the speaker what they're going to talk about. Believe it or not, there's no rules that say you can't. Also, there's going to be times in your life when you just want the world to swallow you up. I've had heaps of these situations, but the power of hindsight and a little perspective means I've also found them to be some of the funniest moments in my life. In my experience, the sooner we can get that perspective and ability to have a laugh at and with ourselves, the better. Alright, thanks again, and remember to click follow, subscribe, and share these podcasts with your people. Also, you can find me on Instagram at big_life_mindset. That's Big Life Mindset. Alright, cheers.